The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 68.
68.
What is the topic?
This is the Great Awakening.
Good topic.
Yes. Or we should call it the next Great Awakening because there actually have been a few before this. But we're going to talk about what's happening right now, not looking backwards.
Cool.
Yes.
Bitchin'.
Yes. I'm
Well,
excited.
before we get in there, how about anything from last week?
Last week we did human trafficking. And I did talk to a few people after this episode, and there were a few things that they were like, oh, I wish you would have talked about this. And one of them was Wayfair and the issues with Wayfair. And it was funny because, about an hour ago, I came to you and showed you an ad that came up on my Facebook for Wayfair. But if you don't know about this, there was somebody that went on Reddit and said that there's obscenely priced items on Wayfair, cabinets that really don't look like they could be worth what they're selling them for. Like we're talking $20,000 shelves, and that
Looks like something you put in your garage.
Yeah, that you could get at, I don't know, Home Depot or whatever.
And they say
for
it's
a couple
industrial. That's why it's justified at that price.
But there was a rug. Oh, well, today I found the rugs. I've been looking at rugs online, so my phone's been listening to me, obviously. So they came up with these rugs, and one of them was like $30,000. And I thought that, I mean, I guess there's rugs, maybe people pay for that. That's a lot of money. So I never thought that there were rugs that were that expensive. But okay, maybe. But on Wayfair, it just seemed so weird. So I showed it to you. And then I went on Wayfair and I was looking at the rugs. And there was one that was $100,000. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that this is human trafficking. You know, that's what the guy on Reddit was saying, was that because these high-priced items, what they're doing is they're selling you something online, and then they send you the child instead. And people were saying that you have to put a special code in to put this item in your cart. Well, today I put that $30,000 rug in my cart to see what happened. Nothing popped up, but I also didn't go to purchase it. I was like, I'm not going to take it that far. But so it's hard to say with the Wayfair thing. I mean, who are we to say that they can't sell a $30,000 rug or pillow? Yeah, that's what it was. Remember, there was a pillow that was like $20,000.
Right.
It just seems weird. It's not proven in any way to be related to the human trafficking.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
There's suspicions. It's just weird.
Yeah.
But again, it's one person that went on the internet and said, does anybody else find it weird that...
Well, it raises a good point, but
Yeah.
I mean, once you say something, that can become like a wildfire too.
Yeah, it did, because then people started associating the names of the cabinets, like what they had them named for on Wayfair, for human trafficking victims or missing people. Yeah. And, some of the names were very different, but that doesn't mean that cabinet is named after somebody that's missing. It seems a little bit too far-fetched, but then again, right now, it's like I'm not discounting anything anymore because I don't know.
Yeah.
They have to find ways to cover up the human trafficking.
Yeah.
So.
That's true.
I don't really know. And the way that Wayfair looks to me almost, and I don't know much about it. I've never bought anything on there, but it almost looks like Etsy, but it's like furniture and stuff. But what I mean by that is there's different stores. Like, you have this company sells these things. So maybe Wayfair isn't even aware of these things that are going on. Who knows if they are going on. Because it's different companies that have these different items. See what I mean?
They're just the distributor.
They're just the distributor, yeah. At least that's what I took from what I saw.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's a developing thing maybe, or something we've already forgot about. I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. But we'll see what happens with that, if anything.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got from last week.
All right. Well, let's hop into episode 68,
Yes.
The Great Awakening.
The Great Awakening. So the term The Great Awakening, like I had mentioned, it can mean a lot of things. But it's usually related to like a religious or a spiritual type awakening. The things that we're not going to talk about today is what QAnon considers their Great Awakening. This isn't that. Like, we may talk about it, but this isn't that. This isn't their Great Awakening. Is Trump coming out and saying that all of this stuff's been going on, and we all become awake to that.
They've adopted that name, but like you said, this in actuality is
completely different.
in our terms is not the first Great Awakening.
When I started looking for this information, I was like, man, there's so much stuff for QAnon and the Great Awakening that I didn't want people to get confused, and almost thought we should have a different name for the episode. But here's our disclaimer: that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
Let's see. There's also something that in doing this kind of research that I wanted to point out, that a lot of this comes from people that they don't read this stuff online. They don't talk to their friends necessarily about it at first. These are things that we feel. These are things that people, the light workers that are put here during this Great Awakening, there are things that we feel, that we hear, that we see. And what's happening now is I'm starting to see other people like myself popping up on YouTube and TikTok and all these other places that are saying the exact same things, and realizing that we're getting this from the source itself.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling all of this, if the stuff we talk about today is like, you don't know, you know this, like it makes sense, but you don't know how you know this, it's because you're getting the information from the other side or from the source.
Right.
So I just wanted to point that out.
Or you've been to the other side and you've seen some of it from that side.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of different ways, but just know, because one thing that I did see in a lot of these videos was people saying, you are not alone and you are not crazy. Mm-mm. Because you will feel like you're crazy. Sometimes, like even doing this research and putting the things that I feel into words, I was like, wow, somebody that just came along out of nowhere and heard us talking like this would probably be like, oh yeah, they're a little crazy. But no, that's not it. We're awake.
Right.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Two separate ends of the spectrum.
Separate ends, yeah. So, okay, so what is a Great Awakening? A Great Awakening in spiritual terms means that in general, people that have previously been stuck or asleep in a spiritual way are starting to open their eyes. It's a period of time when there is widespread revival of the spirit or God and the universe, whatever you want to call it. No matter what religion you are, you can experience this, a spiritual awakening. It's not just about spiritualism or Christianity or everybody. You're just experiencing it in your own way with your own set of beliefs. So that's pretty much what the Great Awakening is. But why are we having this Great Awakening?
Right.
What's happening now that is causing this to happen, and why do we believe that this is happening? Well, if you look at it, more and more and more people are becoming spiritual. Mm-hmm. Whether it is like us, like in this way, or in other religions, more people are trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to grab a hold of something, and they're waking up. And when they wake up, this is what happens. You start to go through this awakening.
And I think that a lot of people probably feel like they can't trust what they see or read.
Right.
So if you're not getting the right answers from that source, maybe it's time to tap into the actual source,
right.
Which is within you.
Right.
Your extension of God. So you have that energy. You have this this intuitive knowledge or feeling about things. I think that's how I kind of see that. Like what you're saying is like it's sort of a great awakening on a grander scale of population of the planet. When I compartmentalize that for myself, it's sort of part two for me of the spiritual awakening.
Yes.
Because you start to, like you said, understand and feel things and get information about things that are a bit mind-boggling, sometimes where you feel like, wow, this life is a lot more like science fiction than I really ever imagined.
Oh yeah.
The truth is, it's science reality, not science fiction.
Absolutely.
And it's not even all science, it's just universal.
Right.
Universal reality. And even that gets a little bit interesting, just reality in itself. So that's what I mean by science fiction. It feels like something we would refer to, because there are so many different elements and energies and possibilities. It's not so cut and dry.
It's not at all. And no matter where you are in your spiritual journey, I'll tell you, it never stops.
Right.
This continues on. And in order for you to process new things, you have to take that journey and let things develop. So, like, for example, there's things that are being thrown at us now that if I wouldn't have accepted aliens, I don't believe that the things that are being thrown at me now would have been, because they wouldn't have made sense.
Right.
So in every part of this spiritual journey, you're going through it for a reason. You're going to continue to wake up to things, continue to see new things and feel new things. And so the spiritual awakening itself never really ends, I don't feel.
Yeah, it's sort of like a continuation or a part two.
Yeah.
And so you get in touch with some of these sort of universal information, and you start to understand about, not just understand, but you're believing. You're absolutely going, wow, there is vibrations and frequencies and all these different things that come into play, yet I'm only relying on my 5 senses.
Right.
But it goes much broader. And then even on that, for me, when I compartmentalize the Great Awakening, I start to go, yeah, not all, but a lot of things I was taught, maybe in particular about this world and our country, also in particular, to put it lightly, is a bunch of baloney.
Right.
That these are not people. Yes, they had degrees and they were smart and they were just trying to figure out something that they had no idea what anything is and what it means.
Right.
But there was other civilizations that created these things and did these things that know the true answers. And all of that is obtainable to us. It's obtainable by us if we wish.
Absolutely.
But you have to wake up.
You have to wake up. Yep. So let's talk again a little bit more about why is this happening now? Okay. Well, first of all, when you have a spiritual awakening by yourself, like an individual spiritual awakening, a lot of times there's something traumatic that sets it off. It could be a death or a divorce or, whatever shakes you to the core a lot of times is what starts your spiritual awakening. For us, I think it was time. And what I mean by that, I think a lot of people listening will understand, is that you're here for a reason. And so this was the time that you needed to wake up, because we need to help other people wake up, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So you don't necessarily have to start that way by, a traumatic event. But what has happened here to our world recently.
Right.
We're experiencing all these traumatic events, one after the other, especially the United States. I feel like we are just like, if I could get out of here right now, man, So
it's just sounding better and better.
It is. But it's just one hit after the other, right? Yeah. So of course we're kind of going through this period of like mourning and wondering what's going on. And, you're stuck in your home. Like, how long has it been now? 5 months since this has been going on, okay? And a lot of people have gone back to work, but a lot of people now work from home. And a lot of people have lost their jobs. So this gives you different time that you never had before.
Yep.
Time to think about things you never thought about before. and you start to maybe open your eyes. I think that's what's happening for a lot of people is, I think people that didn't even know that they were spiritually connected are now starting to become spiritually connected because of what's going on in our world.
You can think about that too, like, because this is an analogy. I know a lot of people feel like they're in jail, because we've been locked up for this long. And, the reality is we're not really locked up. We can go out and do things, but we don't have that ultimate freedom because of the chance that we might be taking.
Right.
So it does feel like you're locked up, and you make a really good point by that, because then you're now left with yourself and your thoughts.
Yes.
Almost like somebody that's incarcerated.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that sometimes.
That they go to that because why else? They're stuck 24 hours a day, maybe 23 hours a day in a cell with their own thoughts.
Yeah.
And so many do turn to this, whether it's religion or spirituality or some form of faith in something.
Right.
And is that just out of repentance, or is that a calling that you hear those messages intuitively?
Right.
And we all can.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I find for me the more I'm kind of in a stressful place in my life, the more my mind's racing, it's harder for me to do that. I have to calm myself down.
Absolutely.
To hear it,
Yeah. This period with everything that's been going on has been it's been a spiritual battle, I'll tell you. It's like some days I feel like I'm good and I'm the spiritual person I'm supposed to be, and then there's other days where I just like, why is this happening? Why are we going through all this? And I know why this is happening and why we're going through all of it. I just want it to be over.
Yeah.
So no matter how, spiritual you are, you still are human and you still deal with these things like a human.
I honestly don't know in our lifetime if we'll see it all done. I
don't think so.
I don't know if it's really officially done. I think it's just progress.
Right.
Moving forward and change. And that's, I guess, one thing we can all be assured of in this life is change, death, and taxes. So,
yeah.
But the change isn't bad.
No, it's not. And sometimes change does come in traumatic ways, but a lot of times those traumatic changes are what pushes us into something else.
Yeah.
It came up on my Facebook a couple of weeks ago that it was 10 years ago to the day that I came out to California and thought my grandma was going to die.
Yeah.
I came out here to start not to take care of her. I thought to say goodbye, right?
Right.
But she survived it. So this time that I came out here that I thought was going to be this horrible death traumatic time, it was very, very stressful.
Right.
But it also triggered my divorce, which was a huge change for my life.
Right.
That period was very, very dark. And we all go through those times where it's very dark. And we're right now, I would say, our world is going through one of those dark, dark times. Mm-hmm. And we don't understand it. Just like I didn't understand what was going on when my grandma got sick. But my grandma got sick, and I know this is going to sound bad, but my grandma got sick so that I would have a chance to start my life over, because I came out here to take care of her and was paid to take care of her. And it gave me a way to start my life over. This right now, what's happening, this awakening, and everything that's happening with it is the same thing. Yeah. It's giving people the chance to start over. It's giving people an out. You lost your job, there's probably a reason. You probably need a career change or, something different.
Right.
But this is what happens
Maybe there's a calling if you quiet your mind there.
Right. But that's what happens when you start to awaken, is you start to see how these traumatic events in your life, as much as they suck, are actually triggers for something better to come.
Yeah.
If you take them.
Right.
Because free will can still stop you from taking them.
Another reason, when you ask, you pose this question of why is it happening now? And when was it before? I'm currently reading or listening to Dolores Cannon's Convoluted Universe. I guess this is part 1. And they talk about Atlantis, the city of Atlantis. and which existed, I think, much earlier than we think it did. Just like a lot of time and date, the way we carbon date things and to see how old they are. There's a lot of factors there that they talk about in this book, how our readings can actually be wrong.
Yeah.
But in this book, they discussed this, and the city of Atlantis was the last time that the globe or civilization and society was really woke. That's the last time it really was happening.
Yeah.
I think we saw kind of a surgence maybe.
Yeah, there's
in the
been a
60s.
few.
There was this push to want to bring this, at least the love and the treating each other better, that movement and the civil rights, which is part of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
The thing about this with Atlantis is they were so technologically advanced for being thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, okay? Or however many thousands of years ago it was. But if you could imagine our society today, where there would be no use for a cell phone, because you could communicate with whomever you needed to communicate telepathically.
Yeah.
If it was simply like, I'm coming home from work, you need something? Yeah, grab me some milk on the way home.
Yeah.
You could do that without a photo, without a phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, they had the ability to fly. They had hovercraft vehicles. These things were all used on natural energy that exists around us and within the elements of our world. There was no fuel, no fossil fuel burning, digging. There was no pollution. They had flight craft. So all these things did exist, yet they were very connected to the source, to the other side.
Oh, yeah.
The problem with it is the more advanced that they got, their human will started then taking over.
Right.
That need for, and we're kind of mirroring this a little bit in society today, the need for greed.
Yes.
And money and power.
Yeah, and technology.
These types of things are what I would consider Satan, devil.
Yes.
That kind of, it's a metaphor.
Right.
Analogy, not an actual being.
Right.
Or place,
Right.
So that's where I say it's happening again, because all that information was abused by man, and then there was a catastrophic event from within underneath the Earth's crust that obliterated that place and sunk it.
We're going to have to do a whole episode on it.
But we know in geology, in our world, that land rises and sinks all the time throughout our Earth's evolution.
Yep.
So, but now what's happening is you've got global warming, which has happened in the past. But things now that are buried are going to be unburied. Things that were underwater will become above water.
Right.
And so mysteries now that we thought were merely legends or folklore, if you will, I think we're going to find out aren't.
Yeah.
And the reason that these stories have lasted as long as they've had is because humanity has kept them alive.
Yeah.
Maybe they've been twisted and,
Yeah, everything. I don't
turned a
think
little
we
bit.
know. Yeah.
But I think
The
that
right stories,
we are definitely moving back towards that type of society.
Yeah.
That this will not only benefit us as humans, but technologically,
Right.
as far as learning about what it really is going to take to get off this planet.
Right. Right. Well, so then I guess we can come to, what does it take to have a mass awakening? If all these people are having their own spiritual awakenings, that's now setting off a mass awakening, right? So what happens from here, right? What changes, I guess, is where I'm going with this.
Right.
And you hit on it a little bit, and that is one of the things is the greed factor. Is that as we kind of shift into this and all these people are going through their spiritual awakenings, that greed starts to go away. not just a greed, but like things like being on top and needing to get ahead, things that your ego gets in the way of, you start to let go of those things. And I'll tell you what happens when that happens. There's also frustrating things that start, because you're trying to let go of your ego, right? It doesn't come naturally. You have to let go of these things on your own. You have to learn to let go of the greed and that need to be first and everything. Yeah. And what happens is you fight with yourself, because you know that you need to let it go, but it's hard to let it go. It hit me today. I was in the shower, and that was one thing that hit me, that these little pieces of myself that are left that I'm sick of, I wish they would go away. Yeah. But it's so hard because we're so set in these things that you can't just drop them. No. You have to learn how to get rid of them.
And maybe it's left there at some sort of reminder.
Right.
Like, so you're comparing yourself to what you want to be and where you were.
So in the spiritual awakening side of a person, now we can look at it as the mass awakening. And if all these people are going through this shift at one time, what's going to happen? Well, people are going to start to get less greedy. They're going to start to look at others with more respect. Yeah. It's going to be a shift, right? Yeah. Yeah. More and more people are going to start to shift. And we've talked about it before, how it takes just a small percentage to shift other people. It's contagious. Just like the coronavirus, right. This is contagious. Yeah. Because people see you and they're like, wow, man, you seem so much happier than you were before. And, right. You're changing. And what are you doing with yourself? Well, I'm opened my eyes. I'm awake now. And it is contagious.
Well, and the thing is you're right. It's super contagious. It's almost infectious. We don't have the ability to peer inside as well yet. So we tend to look at the outside. Yeah. So this whole thing has to start with skin color. Okay? That's where this whole thing has to start, is skin color. Yeah. We have to stop looking at the skin color. Yep. And start peering on the inside of somebody. Meaning you read their energy. Yeah. You feel, and that doesn't mean everybody walking down the street dark, at dark at night, and you're trying to read people's energy. I don't mean put yourself in bad situations. Yeah. Just when you're in life and coming across people, that it has to start there. We have to realize that we all share this planet. Nobody, one person, is entitled to it or it belongs to. And, if there were some other beings that, let's say, maybe lived underground, okay, that none of us have seen, but one day they resurface. And what if they had, like when some of these catastrophic events have happened in the past, and which they're kind of finding out now with Mars, because it's so uninhabitable on the surface, things are going in. Right. So it's very possible that some things could have gone throughout history of Earth inward. Absolutely. And if they ever came out, holy crap. Right. Where'd you come from? We got black people, we got white people, we got brown people, and we got blue people. Wait a minute. There's an orange one. What are we going to do then? They've been here much longer. Out. Yeah. It's literally just a little bit of like a DNA change in your, what is it called, melanin or something? Yeah. Your melanin is a little darker. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but that's all it is. Do we have different cultures? Sure, we all do. That's what makes us unique. Right. Once you see that. I just wish that Earth had these like space shuttle field trips to other worlds. Yeah. Where you could go in and see that people are living, beings, not people, but beings are living harmoniously together in a paradise world where they're doing whatever it takes to make that world survive. Right. And there's no war. There's no, you look like this and you look like that. Right. It's like, if you don't care for each other, then just stay away from each other. That's exactly right. It's not that big of a deal. But the sooner that you can try to accept one another, the sooner that this awakening is going to overtake everything. That's right. And it's going to affect everything.
Yep.
It's going to affect, like I said, technology, economy, homelessness, joblessness. I mean, it's just, it goes on and on.
Yeah.
It would be such a gnarly chain reaction. But I see it much further. Like, we're going to witness a lot of it, but we won't witness it all. Not from here.
Yeah, not all of it. You know, because when we talk about this, when we get really deep into this awakening and down the road, there's not going to be anything like famine or war or, and I think you're right. We probably won't see that in our lifetime. No. And we'll see it from the other side or from our next life.
But I totally agree with you. There will be a day when there will be a generation that doesn't know what a tank is.
Right.
And what war is.
Right.
There will be. It's going to be a long time.
One of the things that I think happens when you wake up, so to speak, is you start to realize that everything that we need is provided for us. There's enough food, water, things for shelter, for everybody on this planet. There is no need for anybody to go without. And that's something else that we will move into as this progresses, is that people will start to see that more. They'll start to see there's no need for all these people to go hungry. We just have to help a little bit, you know? I'm not saying there's a quick fix to any of these problems, but if you start to fix them slowly, they can get better over time. I think that a lot of people want these changes to happen right now, right this second. And when they've been an issue for so long, you can't just flip the switch.
No, we're kind of right at the point right now where we're acknowledging the elephant in the room.
Yes.
That's a good start.
It is.
Like any problem, admitting that there is a problem is half the battle.
Yep.
Okay, or a good portion of it. This is a big one.
Yep.
But we are at that point. You can see society is at the point of enough. Yeah. Enough oppression, enough sweeping under the rug.
Right.
You know, we need to address this.
Yes.
Because this is the first step in getting this world, in an analogy, on the same page.
Right. This situation right now, especially with the United States, you can let it take you one of two ways, okay? I see videos every day of people going into grocery stores and yelling at people because they don't want to wear a mask.
Ridiculous.
I understand that there's a lot of frustration right now with everything that's going on. It is frustrating. Our world has massively changed overnight. But taking your frustration out on other people by going into grocery stores or wherever these people are going, and there's people that have been shot. There's people that have died because they're trying to do their job, which is to tell people to put their mask on before they come in the store. I'm not going to knock a whole group of people.
Right.
Okay. But you have to look at your actions. You have to look at how you're addressing things. Are you coming off with love? Why are you wearing a mask? Okay, a lot of people wear it for protection, which is great. We want to protect ourselves. But that's only one small piece of it. The other piece is protecting the other people. And that shows love. Okay?
It does.
When you do something like that, you're showing love. When you go into a grocery store and you yell at the clerk for telling you to put a mask on, you're showing hate. No matter who the hate's directed at, even if it's directed at yourself, you're still showing that. Right. You're not going to get anywhere with that.
Right.
Of course, I'm not telling you that, you know, if you don't want to wear a mask and you go in a store and somebody says that to you, that you go, oh, peace and love, and walk in without your mask. No. You have to think about the other person and put the mask on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you make a good point, and kind of like in a nutshell of that is that part of that awakening is realizing we are one.
Yes.
We are one. We are not just one as a society, but we're all an extension of the creator, of the source. So therefore, we're showing respect and love for our fellow man and ourself at the same time. Meaning we have to drop our ego and our pride and not make it about our rights as an individual.
That's right.
Okay? We all are individuals. We are unique. We are special. That is true. But we all are one from the same source.
Yep.
So we have to get past the skin color, and we've got to get past this ego and this individuality thing.
Yes.
This personal identity thing. Right. And start looking at ourselves as more one.
Right.
And then another great kind of door opens.
Yes.
And when we push through each one of these kind of lessons that they're giving us to say, can these guys figure it out on their own? Mm-hmm. Or do we have to send some sort of big wake the hell up moment?
Right.
To get your attention.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But you're right. That's not necessary.
No.
None of that's necessary.
It's not.
And I don't like wearing the mask just as much as I don't the next person, but
I don't really want to, like, even if they say, you know, hey, you can travel, it's somewhat safe or whatever, but wear your mask, or Disneyland's my favorite place on the planet. I don't want to go there with a mask on because I don't want to be miserable. It's hot. So I'm just not going to go. Right. You know what I mean? Like, if that's how you feel, just don't go. Just wait until this is over, but don't feel like you're the one that makes the rules, because this is a whole society. That's what makes me the most crazy, is like, I don't have to abide by these rules. These are not my rules.
Right.
It's not rules. We're trying to be good humans. Yeah. It's different. If you look at it as rules, yeah, I guess it's going to look as, you know, but if you look at it as, I'm trying to help my fellow man, I'm trying to get this over with. Yeah. That's what happens. That's what comes with the awakening. Mm-hmm. And with a mass awakening, you start to see more and more of that. Now, there are people, I'm not like bashing anti-maskers, because there are people that wear masks that will treat people that don't the same way, that they're rude to them, they yell at them. And again, it's like, what do you do in this situation? I don't know, but just stay out of it. You know, minding your own business. I'm not going to
argue with somebody that's asking me why I'm wearing a mask.
No.
Right there, it's a difference of opinion. So,
exactly.
You know,
you just have to go on with your day. If that's where we fall into this pit, is that we feel, and I still get this a lot, is we feel like we need to fix it. And so, you know, if you're in one of those moods and you're like, I'm going to address this person that's not wearing a mask, you know, what are you doing? You're just kind of spreading your bad mood. You know what I mean? That's the opposite of what we should be doing. Just let it go. Just leave it alone. Yeah. There was something I shared on Facebook. I can't remember exactly what it said, but something along the lines of minding your own business will solve most of your problems.
It does.
It really will. If you worry about yourself and just don't give off that hatred, it changes a lot of things. Yeah. And that comes with the spiritual awakening and the mass awakening.
Yeah, sure. I think in this one in particular, involves so much more because of the state of our world.
Right. It's very different.
It is. This involves, to me, it's like an ultimate search for truth on a couple different planes. One is the truth about what's after all this. Yeah. You know, the next one is what's going on here. Yeah. And then the next one is what's really going on here.
Right. I think you almost have to figure out in the steps, like you just said, in that order, before you can really, you know, you have to see that there is another side. There is a universe before you can really take a look at what's going on here and see it in a different way. Yeah. In my opinion.
I think this particular time that this is going to happen in this world, because there's so much dark and, you know, bad energy, evil, if you want to call it. Yeah. The world has to find a way to purge that. Yes. So a lot of these things are going to come out. Some of this is going to blow our minds.
Yeah, it is.
But it has to come out. Yep. We have to know the truth. Yes. And that the truth is, for me, that it's way better than what we think this world is. I think a lot of society, a lot of people, you hear people say constantly, and I say it too, man, what is this world coming to? Right. And that sounds like a statement that has absolutely no hope or faith.
But I've heard that my whole life, though.
Yeah. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So what if that wasn't a common statement in society? Right. And it was more it was the statement, but it was a different, I don't know, tone about it. Like,
for sure.
Like, how would you say, God, can you believe what this world is coming to?
Right. Yeah, just changing your perspective on it.
Can you believe how amazing it is?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't. It has a negative connotation to it.
That's right.
And that will be a sign,
right,
when we stop hearing that as much, that things are really where they where they should go.
Right.
I think they're headed there or they're there, but that'll be a long time from now. But
yeah,
I feel like that. And
yeah,
I think that this can be anything that we want it to be.
You're right.
Anything that we perceive it to be, but we all kind of sit back and go, man, can you believe what this world is coming to? As if we don't have any role
right.
or place here to even make one iota of a significant change, whether it's like the size of a grain of sand,
yep,
or El Capitan,
right?
A change is change.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter the size of it.
That's right. Yep.
So
I asked our listeners something. I asked them if they have felt some things lately. First of all, if they feel like they're kind of going through this awakening, and even if they're not, have you felt any of these things lately? Because these are things I'm going to read that they say comes with this mass awakening, or right now.
You're asking me?
No, I'm going to read you what I.
Oh, okay.
Said for our listeners. This is a poll that I took. You can answer it too.
I thought you were just saying, tell me if you felt these things. All right.
So what I asked them is, if you feel you are a part of those of us awakening, which of these have you started doing in the awakening process? And these are all things that I found online that is typical for people to do when they are going through an awakening process. Seeking a better way of life that doesn't involve working 40 plus hours per week.
Yeah.
This is something when you get into the spiritual awakening, and I see it happening now in mass numbers, that people are like, and with the pandemic, why should I get in my car and drive 2 hours to work, to sit at a desk for 8 hours and drive 2 hours home when I could do the same job at home,
right.
Or I don't want to do the same job anymore. I don't want to do that. I want to follow my dreams. Mm-hmm. That's what this mass awakening is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you re-examine those areas of your life that you're not happy in so that you can change them.
Yep.
And there are a lot of listeners. Let's see. I think there were 12 people total that took this, and all 12 said that was one that they felt.
Nice.
11 said that they are beyond sick of hatred, violence, and war. It just makes no sense to me anymore.
Yeah.
When I see some of these guys, in the government, Kim Jong-un being one of them, and he's got this smile on his face like, I am the worst person in the whole world. And I can't look at him and think of him as a human almost. I'm so sick of all these things that these people are doing to try and ruin our planet. It's sickening. It really is. Started meditating and becoming more mindful. That's important. I think it helps you to, meditating helps you to release your stress. It helps you to be able to quiet your mind when you're in a moment of stress. Yeah. I think, for sure. Yeah. And we did a whole episode on mindfulness. Do you remember the mindfulness episode?
Yeah.
Where, you tell yourself, instead of telling yourself something negative about a situation,
right,
you make it a positive. And I feel that
there's a lot of power in that. There is.
There is a lot of power in that, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, because I was kind of been going through something, personally, and was like kind of really having a hard time shutting my mind off to it for a couple days, and then finally it went like it was just like epiphany, sort of like, well, no matter how much time you spend on this, it's going to go the way it's going to go. Obviously, my behavior has a lot to do with that, but ultimately it's just going to go the way it's going to go.
Right. And you can sit there and live in your head over it.
It just kind of felt like a release.
Right.
Like I just kind of sat with it and was like, okay.
Yeah.
And did some things for myself that helped me get to, like what you're saying, those meditative places, and to try to quiet my mind because I could feel it. And as long as I acknowledge it, like, oh, that's happening again.
You have to. You have to acknowledge it.
Then I go, okay, we'll go do what quiets it. Right. And then then I walk out feeling like, I have this totally different perspective now, or like realization on this issue. Right.
Well, and I think that people look at meditation and think that it's difficult, but it isn't. It doesn't have to be. The one most common thing that I hear from people is that they lose their concentration. They lose their focus.
Yeah, that happens.
Everybody loses their concentration. I still lose my concentration. You have to bring yourself back.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you might lose it again. You have to bring yourself back.
It's just like riding a bike. You just fall off, you get back on. And it's frustrating, but that's why it's meditation.
Right.
It's not necessarily always easy, but it gets easier, like a muscle that you can, and I know that for you, it's like, I've seen that muscle really grow, especially for you.
Yeah.
So it's important.
It teaches you to almost be able to calm yourself if you can do it, if you can stop yourself and breathe and go into that meditation, that almost instant meditation in any situation, you can stop yourself from feeling that energy or getting upset. And the meditation does teach you how to do that. It teaches you how to control your mind. But like you said, it's like a muscle. You have to build it. It's not going to happen the first time you meditate. It's not going to happen the 10th time you meditate. It takes practice.
Yeah.
But if you can learn to do that, it really helps with so many different areas. You're just trying to calm your mind, that's all. Even if it's just listening to music. We actually were talking the other day about maybe doing some like video, not videos, but like, I don't know what you would call them, MP3s or whatever of sounds, like Danny playing the guitar and me doing a meditation over it, trying to help people to learn how to meditate and do it easier, because it is intimidating.
Right. We could even do it just on an episode, just one of the episodes.
Yeah, that would be
like
pretty
a
cool.
5-minute or just a few minute. Doesn't have to be
see how people like it.
Super long, just to get long enough to get people to try to relax. But we realize, like what we're talking about, we're not going to do it for 15, 30 minutes because of this is entry level, just practice,
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good idea. Yeah. See how people like the meditation for sure. So let's see. What was I was reading the list. Let me go back to the list. Okay. So we talked about meditation. Okay, having thoughts of or actually living off the grid or becoming a minimalist. I think about this all the time. I know it would be a pain at this point in our lives, but in the future, I'm so about like redoing a school bus or something and traveling in that, and we don't have to live in that all the time. But I think your brain starts to shift. You start to see that the material possessions are really not that important.
Yeah.
And what's out there and what you can experience is what's important.
Right.
And I really would like to live on some place where we have land so that we could grow off our land.
Yeah.
And these are all things that have changed. All things that have changed in this process. You start to slowly realize that gosh, I could grow my own food. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Why not? Why can't I?
Be killer.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Yep.
So these are definitely things we've gotten rid of a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
You kind of become a minimalist. You don't want the clutter.
Yeah.
The clutter kind of clutters your brain if you think about it.
It does. And I look at like all the stuff, in our home, and, I love our home and having stuff.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
But you look at it, and think in terms of, the next time we move.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff
to
move, yeah.
And, like having the studio, super grateful. But yeah, I would like one day, maybe not so many guitars, just have 2.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Just to make life simple, I think with this, it just comes where you just want to be happy, and what makes you happy is what isn't so much baggage on your shoulders all the time. And a lot of these things are baggage, Yeah. They really are. Let's see what else was on my list. A need to protect the earth and each other. Yep. I definitely have noticed that everything that we use now, I don't know if you've noticed, maybe I can't say everything, but 99% of what we use now in this house is earth friendly.
Yeah.
it's a big change, and I think a lot of our listeners have gone through that too, because I've shared some of the products that I've started using, and people are like, oh yeah, I love those, like laundry strips that have no pack. It's like an envelope that's the packaging, and the trash bags. I love the trash bags. I can't remember what they're made out of, but they're compostable, and they're so strong, but you know that they're not going to sit there. They're going to disintegrate. Right. And that's fantastic.
Beautiful.
So these are all things that kind of you change, you start to realize.
You become aware, yeah.
You become aware.
You feel your connection to it. Yeah. To the ground you're walking on, that, she's as live as you are. Yep. And it's again about the whole, so like if I'm just worried about my time here on earth, that's pretty selfish. Right. It is. We're here to learn, but also to help others. It's like the same idea as the way that we protect national parks. Aren't we protecting those for generations and generations to come? Right. Exactly. Well, what about the world that those parks exist on? That's right. It's all relative. Yep. It absolutely is. But a lot of people don't look at it like that. They're like, oh, I'm not going to be here to see any of that, so I don't care. Well, hate to tell you, but when you reincarnate, you're going to have to deal with it. Yeah, so... and you kind of want it to be nice when you come back. Yeah. If this is where you choose to come back to, but... The awakening, like, you can see people... I see videos every day. I love these videos. Where people will, like, throw litter out. They'll throw piece of trash out their car window, and somebody will go and pick the trash up and throw it back in the window. I love that, yeah. And it just shows you that people are changing. They're trying to respect Mother Earth more. Now there's people that leave their masks and gloves all over the place that aren't, but we'll talk about that. What else is on my list? As you started eating more organically, limiting or eliminating processed foods and GMO foods. You would not believe what this does for your body. Yeah. I'm a believer in it because now I go back to eating junk food and I feel like junk. Yeah. It weighs you down. It does. Yeah. All of these processed foods. But for how many years did people tell me that? And I didn't listen because I wanted to be right. And now I'm really delicious. It is delicious, and trust me, I still love the stuff. We went to Cheesecake Factory the other night, and man, I paid for that cheesecake because my body's not used to that kind of stuff anymore. It's so worth it, but I feel it. I feel the difference now. Another one of these was going vegetarian or vegan. This is becoming a more popular thing. We're starting to see more and more foods that are vegan, or we eat a lot of it. Our daughter is vegetarian, and we limit the meat, but we haven't gotten that far yet. I'm sorry, the steak is just hard to give up sometimes. There's some things that I don't eat it a lot. Yeah. We've given up different kinds of food, and I think, you have to pick and choose what's right for you and what doesn't feel right. If you're eating something and you just don't feel right eating it, then don't eat it. Yeah. Listen to your body, listen to your mind. Yeah. Is what's important here. How much longer? We got a few minutes. So us that are awakening or that are woke, so to speak, we're here for a reason during this great awakening, to help others to wake up, to be the light when the darkness ends or in the midst of the darkness. But that's hard to do. How do you do that? Like, for us, this is our platform, I think. Yeah. This helps us try and help other people to see what's really going on and what's out there so that we can spread this, And to help people feel like you're not going crazy if you have these feelings and these thoughts or these pulls. Right. Right. But what can you do from here? Like, to continue to grow or to help people now that, you're at this point? One of the things is that you continue to grow as an individual, because like I said before, there's never a point where that stops. You continue to grow, and what happens is that people just naturally become attracted to you, and they see the way that you're changing. You can see in my friends that see the difference in me from like 10 years ago, the people that have known me a long time. Yeah. And they start to come around and they wonder, what are you doing? What are you doing differently? What's changed? And they see the way that we're living now and how it does change your life if you can change the way that you're thinking. Yeah. So by continuing to learn,
you're not just helping yourself. You're helping those around you because they are learning by, what do they call it? Learning by osmosis.
Yeah.
They just learn by watching you.
Yeah.
You know, so you're helping.
Yeah.
In that way. Love everybody and everything. That's a tough one, I think, for everybody,
it's hard.
Really. Because you still, like, with what's going on right now in our world, I have had my spirituality has been harder for me. It's been because I have days where I feel like that hate coming back for certain things that are happening and certain people that are causing things.
Right.
And it makes you fight those spiritual feelings.
Yeah.
You have to let love take back over. It's hard. It's really hard. Yeah. But if you can just, you know, let love take over everything that you do with love, or at least stop when you feel yourself reacting to something and think of reacting to it in a different way. Yeah. It will start to change, and that will start to make everything move forward for you and for others around you.
You know, it's again, kind of going back to that, like, why do we say, God, can you believe the state of the world right now? Yeah, I kind of can. Yeah, it needed because
to happen.
Because you keep sweeping this under the rug, then it's going to happen. Right. But at the same time, it also has a lot to do with your perception.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of what you were just talking about in these times and seeing things happen and fighting that need to want to be angry, you know, at somebody for doing something wrong. It's normal, it's human, but it's that lesson of trying to figure out, okay, right, how do I do this? Right. But part of this, in that my initial kind of comment about the state of the world, is like, how are we viewing this? Right. Individually and as a whole. Right. Is it half empty or is it half full? Right. That has a lot to do with every day when I wake up, how I look at the world. Right. How I look at my own life. But I try to forget about my individuality is so much. Right. And try to think of it as the whole. Like everybody out there.
Right. Exactly. We're one.
So I don't know. It sometimes it is a daily thing of just getting up and going, how am I going to look at today? Half empty or half full?
That's right. It really is. And you choose it every day. And I have mornings. This morning I actually woke up and I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling myself. But I know at this point I have to do what it takes to pull myself out of that. Yeah. And it's hard. But you have to take those steps. You have to do the work. Yeah. Like, one of the things on my list was to tap into your consciousness and make changes. Yeah. And what that means is that you have to accept the things about yourself that you don't like, and you have to grow and fix them. Yeah. And that's very, very hard. It's hard to examine yourself and look at yourself. But if you want to grow as a person and you want to continue this spiritual journey, that's really important. Yeah. It's very, very important. Something else that what you said kind of triggered is that there's a lot of people that maybe when they try to manifest or pray for something, they come at it in a negative way. I'll give you an example. I hope, and I'm not saying this for me, I'm just giving this as an example. I hope our president dies because he's a piece of crap. You hear that all the time, right? You're putting negative energy out there. When you say that, you're not manifesting anything. You're not praying for anything because you're not looking at it as what you're doing for society or for this person. It's because he's a piece of whatever, right? There has to be a positive reason to why you're manifesting or praying for what you're praying for. You can't pray for somebody to be hit by a train and those types of things. You have to pray for peace for them. Manifest peace for your country. Manifest peace for Trump. Manifest peace for whoever. Right. Whatever that means. But you have to bring positive. Does that make sense? Am I you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Am I presenting this correctly? Yeah. Because if you bring it negatively, you're not helping.
Well, something like even like that. Like I hope our president dies because he's a piece of crap. If that was something somebody was praying, think about it. If you were an angel floating,
yeah, exactly,
in heaven, and you're hearing this person share this,
yeah,
it's kind of just a blank statement.
It is.
There's no request.
Yeah.
There's no positive energy in it.
Right.
It's just a blank statement. There's no prayer. There's no request. There's nothing specific being asked.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
So
what are they supposed to do? Right.
They're just going to go, I feel for you.
Right, exactly.
That's about it. But if you take it from like what you're saying is, I really hope for Mr. Trump that he finds some sort of peace in his life.
Yeah.
And where he doesn't have to do this and be like this towards other people.
Yeah.
But until he does, I would appreciate if somehow you could intervene or help us in this situation to ensure that he's not going to harm it any more than he already has.
That's it. Because you're asking for help for your society, for your country.
Right.
You're asking for it in a positive way, in a let's move us forward. You're not asking for it in a way of, I want this, you know. Totally different. That's in general with manifestations altogether. If you're sitting there, upset and I don't believe that there's this and I don't believe that there's that, but I'm praying that this is going to happen. No, you have to believe. Yeah. You have to have faith. You have to be positive. You have to trust. It all comes with that and this all comes with this spiritual awakening, this mass awakening. This is what's going to start changing in people.
Yeah.
What we're talking about. You're going to see all of this. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean that just because, we're spiritual and we're talking to you about it, that you're automatically going to become spiritual. You have to do your own journey and you have to learn your own path. And it takes time and, nothing happens overnight. But if you feel these changes happening to you and you see that you want something more, keep digging for it, whatever it is, whether it's, in spirituality or another religion or just what you believe for yourself, dig into it more.
Yeah.
Experiment with it.
It's
more.
still life.
Yep.
It's still an experience. So it'll be bumpy. It'll be smooth. It'll be happy. It'll be emotional. But that is our experience as mortals, is to have those feelings.
That's right.
But look at it kind of an analogy of it's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
We see this is a big thing in our society of taking care of ourselves physically, hitting the gym, but we need like mental and spiritual gyms.
Yeah, we do. Yep.
The outside's great, but the inside's way more important.
It's way more important. You got to keep yourself healthy, but if your brain isn't healthy, nothing else is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's about all the time we got. I could go on and on forever, but I think you guys get the point of that we are headed towards, I think, something beautiful, but we have to go through some more junk to get to that beautiful. And those of us that are here to help get through the junk, or, whatever we're here for as light workers, this is our time.
Yeah.
This is what we've been called here for right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
And we sit and we just imagine what it is we really would like to see happen here and pray for that.
Absolutely.
Ask for it.
Absolutely.
Specifically.
Yes, with good intention.
Yeah.
Yep, and belief.
Together, separately in your own home.
Exactly. Or wear a face mask if you go out and do it with others. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was good. Thanks.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I did too. I'm all snotty nose.
Oh, boy. Well, at least you remembered that.
Right. Yeah. Did you see me bring them in? I was waiting for you to ask me why are there tissues, but I don't think you
why would I ask that question
when
you say every week I forgot to bring in tissues?
That's true. you make a very valid point, sir.
Well, before we say goodbye, would you like to share your page?
Yes.
Please.
My website is SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. You can find out everything you need to know about me there. So
beautiful.
That's it. Easy.
Awesome. And djonesartcollection.com for the art. And Gypsy, I'll wait on that one. At djonesartcollection for Instagram and Facebook, and gypsybrown.com for the web. For music, at Gypsy Brown Music for Instagram, and at Gypsy Brown Band for Facebook.
Yay.
That's all I got.
Fantastic.
Well, we hope you guys got something out of this. I did. I like talking about this one.
I do too. It's one of my
good.
favorite topics.
I walk out feeling a little more uplifted.
I do too, even though I need to blow my nose really bad.
But we hope you guys have a great week.
That we do.
And until next week, peace and love.